The existence of an all-powerful, all-loving God doesn't seem to fit with the existence of so much evil and suffering in our world. Kind of like two puzzle pieces that just don't fit together. In this video, we'll be discussing what might be the most common argument against God, what's called the logical problem of evil and suffering. Don't go anywhere, that's coming right up. Famous atheist Sam Harris once said this: "Any God who would allow children by the millions to suffer and die can either do nothing to help them or doesn't care to. He is therefore impotent or evil." Basically, he's saying the God that the Bible describes is actually disproved by the evil and suffering we see and experience. There's no overlapping. Is that true? Well, I think we need to zoom out and think through two assumptions we can bring to this topic. The first assumption is that an all-powerful God can create any world he wants. I know it sounds scary and heretical, but hang on. God can't make a universe that's logically incoherent. Give me some examples. Perfect. He can't create a married bachelor or a square circle because those concepts are nonsense. They can't exist. It's also nonsense that God could force us to freely choose good instead of evil. If he's forcing us, then we're essentially puppets. Here's the breakdown. If God wanted to make us with free will to choose whatever we want, he can't ensure that we won't choose evil. I've always thought it was weird to blame God when evil is the result of the choices we're making with our free will. Okay, but even if God is off the hook for the moral evils we commit, what about the natural evils he allows, like disease or natural disaster or death? A second assumption that we bring to this topic is that an all-loving God couldn't have a good reason to allow suffering. But there are tons of examples where we allow pain and suffering in our lives because we know it'll bring about an even greater good. Let's have some more examples. Thanks. Think about going to the gym or studying for hours on end or going to the dentist. Well, God is not just an all-powerful and all-loving God, but he's also all-knowing. Meaning that if he allows suffering, it's possible for him to know that it will bring about a greater good because he's able to redeem that suffering. We see this in biblical stories like Jesus dying a brutal death, but saving the world from sin. To be clear, this doesn't make evil less evil somehow or make it good. What it does is underscore God's redemptive goodness and power in contrast to a world of evil and suffering. The point is this: unless it can be proven that it's impossible for free will to exist and that it's impossible for God to have a justifiable reason to allow evil and suffering, then it remains logically possible for both God and evil and suffering to exist at the same time. That's a huge burden of proof, and it's why atheists like William L. Rowe said that some philosophers have contended that the existence of evil is logically inconsistent with the existence of a theistic God. No one, I think, has succeeded in establishing such an extravagant claim. Honestly, I'm still working through some of this logically and emotionally. Maybe this response seems super harsh to you, and I know exactly what you mean because only dealing with the logical side of this issue is kind of heartless. But if you're interested in a response that deals more with the emotional side of suffering, then make sure you check out last week's video, and you can find that at this link that's popping up right here. And before you go, here's today's question. Does this argument change the way you feel about pain and suffering in your life? Is it better? Is it worse? No change? Share this video and discuss it with someone you love, and I'm curious to hear, so make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. I'll see you next Tuesday.